Yes, the world now knows about Barbara. They do, and I love that for them. And they performed again.
Lawful wedded husband.
To be my
Barbara not Barbara Jean's heart. With a tramp like you?
Well, I know it hurts being third rate, but aren't you accustomed to it yet?
Oh, Robin, I see you. I myself the slut of Springfield!
Son of a bitch in heat. I found out myself what love is all about.
Hey everybody, it's me, Nikki. Concert went off without a hitch. Now, what Miss Anita had Andre working on was an in memoriam to Barbara. Like, she basically spilled all the tea, kept it cute in the way she spilled it, but let the world know that there was a fourth articulate and let them know about Barbara's brilliance and the dreams that Barbara had for the girls and what she meant to the articulates. So, yes, the world now knows about Barbara. They do, and I love that for them. And they performed again. Child, I'm just be honest. Martin and Smitty are going to have a hard time getting back to each other because while Smitty can kind of forgive Anita and Vernon for their part that they played because he understands they were just trying to protect Martin, the thing with Martin was he lied to Smitty, and Smitty can't get over the lies, and it's just like you can't get on the stage and admit to what you did without getting in trouble, and I don't know how to move on from this, and Martin just wants his husband back, and we all know Smitty wants his husband back, but you know he's being held back because he doesn't know how to operate and move with this entire situation, so he's feeling a way. But they did hug at the after party and they did have a conversation, and Martin has been to the house, so I think we're heading in a good direction because ultimately before that wasn't no hugs, wasn't no conversation, wasn't no being welcomed in the house. And the children, they ultimately feel like, because Sabbatical talks about remembering how June left them without saying June's name and how they ended up in the system, and it's just like most kids don't get a family like we have. Most kids get split up because that's what they thought was going to happen to them. They were chosen. They were brought together and have this found family, and the Duprees chose them, and Sabbatical ain't ready to give up on her family no matter the issues they have. And she asked Tiberius, are you ready to give up on the family? And he's like, no. And they realize that while they do have their family, they also have each other. But we're going to see what happens with the children, Smitty and Martin, because Martin's whole thing is, I need my husband to forgive me. And that's what he's saying when he's talking to Nicole. He's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes for him to forgive me. Now, Wiggy Wonder called herself coming down to the after party, which was an invite only type of situation, and not everybody who was at the concert was actually at the after party. And Kat and Chelsea had to, come handle up on that. And Kat was like, how y'all get behind the gates? And Eva was like, my father, your father too, gave me a pass. And it's just like, just because he gave you a pass does not mean your mother should be there. This is Eva's problem. Your mother is always doing stuff and using you as a scapegoat, or stealing from you, or using you to get something. And it's like, ultimately, when are you gonna put your foot down? She put her foot down a little bit tonight. First of all, Kat called Wiggy Wonder a hoe, and Eva the proof of the infidelity, and told them they need to leave because they were not welcome, especially because it was a Dupree event, an invite only type thing. So y'all definitely not welcome. Y'all need to go before she got a handle up on y'all. And they didn't believe her. And Chelsea was like, y'all not on this, so y'all gotta get to stepping. Ultimately, Eva dragged her mother out of there by threatening her to be like, we're not going to be the Gilmore Girls anymore. And it's just like, the Gilmore Girls is a hopeless, codependent relationship that was not good. I'm just going to be honest. They were a hopeless, codependent relationship that ultimately was toxic to one another. Lorelai, at certain points, was more of a friend to Rory than she was a mother, if we're just going to be honest. And Rory was more of a parent sometimes to Lorelai than she was just the child, if we're just going to be honest. So by the time we see, Eva and Wiggy Wonder again, Chelsea and Kat then told Nicole what happened, and Nicole come down to Orphe Jeans, and it's just like, you need to stay away from my family. And Eva tries to jump in and is like, oh no, my mother's a fan and stuff like that. And she was like, okay, fan or not, you need to stay away. I should have you arrested. You keep trespassing and traipsing all over our lives. You need to please dig down into that deep well of jealousy and find a semblance of couth or anything and just stop. And if you're really a fan, I'll get you a signed vinyl and shovel where the sun don't shine if you keep on. And she goes back to the country club. For when she comes back to the country club, Danny has already left with Andre. Now Chelsea, oh, hold on before we get to that. Danny and Andre kissed in the audience. Naomi saw it and kind of had an issue, but Chelsea had to shut her down. Like, she's not thinking about her father, which is a good thing. Let it go. Shanice saw, but we don't know if Shanice is going to say anything yet. We're going to see what happens. And at the country club, Chelsea is asking, is, this man going to be our new stepdaddy? Is that what we're supposed to call him? And Danny was like, let me go find my real daddy. And Chelsea basically threatens Andre that if you hurt her, let's be clear on something. If you hurt her, you got the whole Dupree family ready to run down on you. So don't play. Don't do that. Don't play with her feelings. Don't do that. Don't do what? That. Okay? Madison meets Miss Anita, but she's kind of just like fangirling. And she goes to get some champagne because she can't, calm down. And Miss Anita feels like that Madison is a keeper. That Madison looks at Chelsea how she looks at Daddy Dupree. And Chelsea looks at Madison like Daddy Dupree looks at Miss Anita. And Chelsea feels like she's the one. Now, Danny and Andre feel like what they had in private was hot, but being in public is even hotter. And we're just going to see what, happens. But, baby, they going to go out to Danny's house, and he going to stay for breakfast. And I was like, ooh, not breakfast. Ooh, I love it for them. Child, Vanilla Bean Ashley going to get her heart broken. But Danny also might get her heart broken. But they also understand that this is the transitional relationship and just to be honest about each other's feelings. So, hopefully, we have no issues. We'll see what happens. Carlton tries to put the moves on, Nicole, and he was like, you're just like your mother. And she was like, oh, I'm not a performer. He was like, well, these past few months with everything you're dealing with and how you've handled it is very Oscar worthy. He's trying to put the moves on Nicole because he wants Nicole. He been told Ted he wanted Nicole, but crewneck Ted ain't paid attention, because if you were paying attention, you would see that man said, if I had her, I wouldn't have did nothing like you did. But see, he's not paying attention to the signs. Now, Jim Price wanted Miss Anita to go on a solo tour, and she turned it down. But she did point him in the direction of Sharon and Tracy and taking them on tour. So, they're going on tour, but they want Miss Anita to go on tour with them. And Daddy Dupree, kind of had to let them know what the situation was and what it wasn't, and that whole thing with it. And it's just like, will we see them go on tour? We don't know. Will we see this be a good situation? We don't know. But what we do know is they got to have a conversation. And Miss Anita, first of all, Andre don't know how to take a compliment to save his life, because all the articulates were complimenting him on the memoriam video for Barbara. And he's like, no, that's all y'all. That's all y'all. And it's just like, boyfriend don't take this compliment and move. If you don't take this compliment and move. But Miss Anita went back to the theater, and she's just talking to Barbara's, spirit, her picture, and she's asking for forgiveness. She's taking accountability. She's owning up to the things that she did and didn't do, and the fact that she should have protected Barbara, and how upset she was with her own self that she didn't do that. And she knows Barbara was upset with her as well. So at this point in time, we just got to see how this is going to shake out. But she does ask Barbara for forgiveness. And then a lone spotlight shines down on Miss Anita. And that's her confirmation from Barbara. The girl, yes, you got your forgiveness. But we're going to see what happens. Because there were a lot of moving pieces without the pieces really moving. And the children love their family, but we gotta see what happens with Smitty and Martin, and what's gonna happen with the June storyline of it all when it comes to sabbatical in tight areas. We gotta see what's gonna happen between Nicole and Carlton, and also crewneck Ted, because crewneck Ted was watching a concert, and the fallout of the concert on his laptop in his office, looking real lonely. Will Wiggy Wonder leave the people alone? Will she leave Evil alone enough to build a relationship with her father? I don't know. And will the sisters ever come together and do Wonder Twins powers activate? We don't know. But at some point, Eva gonna need to give up her mother. She's going to have to give up her mother, because she is no good for you. But that was Beyond the Gates. It was a good ass episode. And also, I still think Triple H is gonna try to blame Danny, but we see her trip in the preview, so that's why she was all messed up and everything.